Among the Hidden, Chapter 5. Luke ate every meal after that on the bottom step. It became a habit, but a hated one. He had never noticed before, but Mother often spoke too softly to be heard from any distance. And Matthew and Mark always made their nasty comments under their breath. So they would start laughing, often at Luke's expense, and he couldn't defend himself because he didn't even know what they'd said. He couldn't even hear Mother saying, "Now be nice, boys." After a week or two, a lot of the time, he didn't even try to listen to the rest of the family's conversation. But even he was curious the hot July day when a letter arrived about the pigs. Matthew brought the mail in that day from the mailbox at the crossroads a mile away. Luke had never seen them, of course, but Matthew and Mark had told him that there were 3 mailboxes there, one for each of the families that lived on their road. Usually the gardener's mail was just bills or thin envelopes carrying curt orders from the government about how much corn to plant, which fertilizer to use, and where to take their crop when it was harvested. A letter from a relative was a cause to celebrate, and Mother always dropped whatever she was doing and sat down to open it with trembling hands, calling out at intervals, "Oh, Aunt Effie's in the hospital again," or "Lisbeth's going to marry that fellow after all." Luke almost felt as if he knew his relatives, though they lived hundreds of miles away. And of course they didn't even know he existed. The letters Mother wrote back painstakingly late at night, when she'd saved up enough money for a stamp, contained plenty of news of Matthew and Mark, but never once had mentioned Luke's name. This letter was as thick as some of those from Luke's grandmother, but it bore an official seal, and the return address was embossed, Department of Human Habitation, Environmental Standards Division. Matthew held the letter at arm's length, the way Luke had seen him hold a dead baby pig when it had to be carried out of the barn. Dad looked worried the minute he saw the letter in Matthew's hand, and Matthew put the letter down beside Dad's silverware, and Dad sighed. "Can't be anything but bad news," Dad said. "No use ruining a good meal. It can wait." He went back to eating chicken and dumplings, and only after his last belch did he turn the envelope over and run a dirt-rimmed fingernail under the flap. He unfolded the letter. "It has come to our attention," he read aloud. "Well, so far I understand it." And then he read silently for a while, calling out at intervals, "Mother, what's offal? And where's the dictionary? Matthew, look up reciprocity." Finally, he threw down the whole thick packet and proclaimed, "They're going to make us get rid of the hogs." "What?" Matthew asked. More serious than Mark, he had talked for as long as anyone could remember about, "When I get a farm of my own, it's going to be all hogs. I'll make the government let me do that somehow." Now he looked over Dad's shoulders. "You mean they're just going to make us sell a lot at one time, right? But we can build the herd back up." "Nope," Dad said. "Those people in them fancy new houses won't be able to stand the pig smell. So we can't raise hogs no more." He threw the letter out into the center of the table for all to see. What'd they expect, building next to a farm? From his seat on the stairs, Luke had to hold himself from going to fish the edge of the letter out of the chicken gravy and look at it himself. "They can't do that, can they?" he asked. Nobody answered. Nobody needed to. Luke felt like a fool for asking as soon as the words were out of his mouth. For once he was glad of his hiding place. Mother twisted a dish rag in her hand. "Those hogs are our bread and butter," she said. With grain prices the way they are, what are we going to live on?" Dad just looked at her, and after a moment, so did Matthew and Mark, and Luke didn't know why. I'd like to make an inference right now, a guess as to why something's happening or something about the characters based on evidence. Do you think Luke's family has a lot of money? If you made the inference that no, they don't, you would use evidence like Mother has to save up money to buy a stamp. The grain prices are really high. They don't have air conditioning. Farming doesn't make anyone a millionaire. All of those things kind of lead you to think that, Luke's family is not like poor. They have food to eat, they have a house, but they don't have tons of money. Dad grumbles about the heat going out the attic vents. So I made my inference that no, they don't have a lot of money, and then I backed it up with evidence. Now we're also determining importance. So in your reading journal, I'd like you to tell me, what do you think the most important event of this chapter was? Just simply write it down in your reading journal. Spelling does not count, grammar, and I'm going to check it when you get back to school. So I'd like you to keep it in your reading journal. You can put most important event, chapter 5, and then write down what event you think is the most important. If you need to re-listen to the read aloud, you can do that.